On Friday, April 6, 2012, Keven Guerrier was in a hearing in Clayton County. During a proceeding, Judge Brown held Guerrier in contempt of court and put him in a holding cell. Mr. Guerrier became upset during the proceedings, which related to him paying back child support. Guerrier continued to get agitated during the hearing and at some point ran toward Judge Brown. Deputies Lee and Bernard pursued him, stopping Guerrier by tackling him to the floor as he approached the witness stand. More specifically, Deputy Lee tackled him from behind and knocked Guerrier forward, causing him to roll with the deputies onto the floor. Guerrier was put back into the holding cell located immediately outside the courtroom until he was taken over to the jail. When Guerrier arrived at the jail, there were no signs of bruising or swelling on him. Guerrier was later taken to dialysis for a treatment, and during the treatment he became unresponsive and was taken to Southern Regional Hospital, where he later went into a coma and passed away.
Today's date is Thursday, April 12, 2012. It is 3:51 p.m. Special Agent Merlin Nectar, Special Agent Deborah Loving, and Clayton County Sheriff Department Investigator Spencer Norton, located at the Clayton County Sheriff Department Jail for the purpose of interviewing. State your name, ma'am.
Kathy Chambers.
Okay, how are you employed at the Sheriff Department?
I'm a registered nurse here.
Okay, and what are your duties as a registered nurse here?
When they come through intake, you get a medical history on the patient. If they take medications, you call the doctor and get the medication started. If you're in the infirmary, you help with blood pressures and IVs and things of that nature. And
it's my understanding from Ms. Barber that if you were in the clinic, you are the charge nurse at that time?
Yes.
Okay. I want to refer back to April 6, 2012. Mm-hmm. And you said you do remember this inmate from,
yes,
on two occasions, right?
Mm-hmm.
The day we were going to talk about is April 6th. Did you come in contact with him that day?
Yes.
And how was that?
He had come, I don't know if he had come in from court or from the street, but the officer brought him in, and I recognized him, like, because he always does. And he said no, so I told him, okay, as soon as the officers are done with you and you can get on the phone, you need to call somebody. Okay. And that was all the interaction I had with him that day.
And what time did you get off that day?
6 o'clock.
1800. 1800. Okay. When you had a conversation with him, did he complain to you about anything, or did he mention anything at all?
No,
to
he did not. No, all we talked about was no, we didn't.
Okay. So he didn't tell you he was feeling headache. Anybody had an altercation with anybody? Nothing like that.
No, he did not mention that.
Okay. Anything else that you can think of that we should know concerning this investigation?
The only thing that I noticed with him when he came in was his shirt was ripped in the back. And like I said, I didn't know if he had come from, I didn't know where he come from. I thought he came from on the street, but apparently he came from court. And that was it. He was alert and oriented, and no problems.
You didn't notice any bruising, bleeding, anything like that on him? Any scars, marks, scratches, anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right. Is that all you can think of?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
This concludes the interview at 3:55 p.m. Thank you.
Hey, these the ones y'all looking for?
Today's date is Thursday, April 12, 2012, 4:10 p.m. Special Agent Merlin Nectar, located at the Clayton County Sheriff Department for the purpose of interviewing TAYSHAWN Dunbar. Mr. Dunbar is not an administrative; it's a criminal investigation. Okay. You are not being compelled to give any statement or answer any questions. Your corporation investigation is voluntary. All right. Basically, we're gonna go back to April 6, 2012, and you just tell me about when you came into contact with Mr. Guerrier, and I have a couple questions about reading your statement when you went to you said you had negative contact with the medical assistant at first, and just basically tell me, just start all over from what you wrote in your statement, and I'll ask you any question.
Okay. Right. On that day, I was working overtime in the jail, and Mr. Guerrier was already in custody. I believe he was already patted down, I guess, the initial part of the booking phase. Because when you first come in, you get patted down, then go to medical, and they go see the booking clerk. And he was already put in the cell, cell number 5. And at first he kept kind of being like a little disorderly. He kept, yelling stuff out loud, saying I have a headache, and I need to, just cursing and just carrying on, stuff like that initially. And he said he needed to see a nurse. Eventually, later on, he said he needed to see a nurse. At first, he was just quiet. I didn't have any problems out of him. Then that's when he started being belligerent. Said he needed to see a nurse, and I saw him sweating. So I went to the medical assistant and say, is there a nurse here? Because the nurse wasn't inside of her office. Mm-hmm. There's a nurse's office, then there's the medical assistant across, directly across. Okay. So they usually see a nurse assistant first, get like TB shot and their initial screening of their health, and then they will see the registered nurse afterwards. The registered nurse wasn't in there, so I asked, when the nurse is going to come, and she said she's not sure. I said, well, this gentleman, he needs some help. Mm-hmm. She said, well, I can't diagnose him with anything like that, So I then called the infirmary control, which where all the nurses are housed at, the sort of pharmacies at that side, the infirmary side over there. Mm-hmm. And I contacted a nurse over there, and I said, hey, can y'all get a nurse over here? Because this man, he's kind of sweating. He said his head is hurting. He needs to see a nurse. And I notified Sergeant Lisa Johnson, who was over the intake area at the time. And I also noted on the computer at what time I requested a nurse to come see Mr. Guerrier. Okay. From there, I did see a nurse come in. About 5 minutes later, she came in to assess him. She went in her office. I went to go get him. Told me, put your shirt back on, because he had shirt off and stuff. Pants on, shirt was still off, sneakers was off. Kind of kneeling down on the floor. Don't put his shirt back on, put his shoes back on. Come see the nurse. The nurse was here. He saw the nurse, and I guess that's when they took him over to the infirmary. Next time I saw him was when I guess it was like a money transfer. Somebody had made a request to get all his money or property out of, get his belongings from property. Usually they come to the front desk. They'll have a.
This is the same day?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll have a sheet to fill out. Say, for instance, I was an inmate and you wanted to get some property out. You'll come out to, hey, I want to get this property out. Somebody will show your ID card. They'll attach it, and we'll bring it down to the inmate and say, hey, this person wants your belongings out. This person, do you authorize that? And he wasn't able to really write. He just kind of scribbled, and dated. And that was really about it. He did make utterance, because we trying to figure out why he was being belligerent. He made utterance. Somebody's, officer slamming my effing head. He didn't specify what officer, what time, where at, or any specifics about that. I honestly thought that an officer outside of the sheriff's office brought him in. I didn't know the incident had occurred here.
Okay. And you didn't notice him bleeding or any bruises or anything like that on him?
No, sir.
Okay. And then, so initially you talked to a nurse's aide, rather, when nobody was at the nursing station.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, so she wouldn't be able to. Okay. Is there anything else you can think of?
No. Everyone down there that day heard his utterance of what had happened to him. Mm-hmm. I was working. They should have heard it because he was loud. So. You
mean for like the nursing staff, or you mean other officers?
Yeah, he was booked in by booking clerk Browning. So. Okay. I'm not sure they'll be able to help you or not. So.
Okay. Okay, this concludes the interview at 4:17.